I've always said being a fight fan is the best sport in the world to be a fan of. It's the most exciting, it's the most heartbreaking, it's just the most terrible sport, but also the most incredible sport to be a fan of, and the UFC in particular. However, today's a dark day. Today probably is not the best day to be a fan of the sport, especially if you like the correct fights being made, if you like champions just being absolute fucking bad arses. Jon Jones has said he wants 6 months to prepare for Aspinall, and that is 6 months before the fight date. So obviously it's not 6 months from now, it's 6 months before the date they fight. So for example, if they got booked to fight in December, he would want to start 6 months of prep before the fight, so he needs 6 months notice for the Aspinall fight. Strip this man of the title. He fights once every 2 years. He's shit. He's a terrible human being. Get rid of him. I don't see why he's still around. I don't see why he has fans. People call him the GOAT. He's a drug cheat. He beats women. He takes years off at a time to go inject himself with steroids. Get rid of him. What sort of champion says, if they went to Islam Makhachev, right, you're fighting Armin again. Okay, brother, when am I fighting Armin? Do you know what I mean? Aspinall, you're fighting Jon in 8 weeks. Okay, I'm ready. Let's do it, Jon. Come on, Jon. This is the difference. Hey, Jon, we want you to fight Aspinall in July. No, I want 6 months. Is that 6 months before you start camp? Or is that 6 months from the day of the fight? No one knows. Everyone's having a massive outrage about this. This guy is ruining the UFC. Fuck the UFC right now, man. They're not making the fights that people want. They're not announcing anything good. Like, boxing is better right now. Oh my god, this whole channel I built on saying how great the UFC is and how boxing is not what it should be. The fights aren't being made, and now all the massive, huge, amazing, fun fights are being made in the boxing world, and the UFC is just saying, Aspinall, you might have to defend your interim belt again until the champ's ready. The champion is ready. You mean until the champ can be arsed fighting you? Or until the champ can say, I can see this happening. Do you want to hear what I can see happening? I'll tell you. I can see Jon Jones saying he needs 6 months to fight Aspinall, and the UFC going, yeah, we'll make the fight for December. Okay, perfect. Big thing to end off the year. Jones Aspinall, the fight everybody wants. They'll be 2-3 weeks out from the fight, and Jones will pull out with an injury. And then he'll say, sorry guys, I tried my best, and then he'll retire. Wasting Aspinall's career, wasting the fans' time, the UFC's time. Guys, come on, are you guys deluded? Yeah, he's fantastic, or he was, but you can't hold up a division, the thing is, no matter what your accolades are, no matter how much of the GOAT of the sport you are, does not entitle you to just duck people, or not fight people, or hold up the division. And the fact the UFC were going to make Pereira Jones, even if Pereira won, shows how shit it is right now. I love the UFC so much, but right now it's so difficult to just be in a good place with being a fan, because they're just doing everything that people don't want. All anybody wants is Aspinall Jones. Dana White does not say anything about Tom Aspinall. He was bigging up Pereira. As soon as Pereira lost, it's like, yeah, I guess we'll do Jones Aspinall. Jon Jones saying Aspinall's not done anything. Mate, he's finished 7 of the top 10 with 15 minutes combined. You took longer to finish a 42-year-old man who was piecing you up in the clinch, who was catching you on the way out. You know you'd lose to Aspinall, and you're just not retiring. For what reason? For what reason are you not retiring? You've never fought a true heavyweight with a diverse skill set. All your wins at light heavyweight were fat middleweights, chael, sonnen, Machida. You fought Reyes, who's a natural light heavyweight, and he beat you. You fought Gustafsson, who gave you a fucking run for your money. And you fought DC, who at the time when you fought, he was 37 years old, and was a fat, weight-drained light heavyweight. And now you're like, I'm not going to fight the fucking young 30. There's a closer age difference between you and Aspinall than there was when you and DC fought. This makes me miss Daniel Cormier, and the fact Daniel Cormier would just fight anybody, was not afraid, took challenges, even as a shorter, weight trained 37-year-old at the time he fought you. Just piss it. This has just fucking fucked me off, to be honest. You're an absolute scumbag. I fucking hate Jon Jones. What do you mean you need 6 months? 6 months to then start a camp, then just for you to get injured and pull out, then we have to wait another 6 months because they don't strip you of the belt. They stripped McGregor of the titles. They stripped every one of the belts, you know. Anyone that's done this, they would have stripped you of the title. They stripped Colby of his interim belt when he was injured. You beat women. That, enough said. You think you're solid and hard as fuck, which you are. You're a phenomenal champion, or you were. You battered your wife. Your kids had to literally go down to the hotel reception and say, our dad's battered our mother, and you still live with them, and they probably hate your guts and they just don't want to say anything, you know. What happens if she burns the dinner? What happens if, you know, you come in, you're hungry, you know, you're on a diet, she's having a chocolate bar? Will you just snap and beat the fuck out of her? I hate him. I actually hate him so much. And I know I'm just saying all this out of pocket stuff, but let's talk a bit more about the fact he wants 6 months. Why do you want 6 months? You know, you fought in November. You've actually had 6 months. Next month is April. You know, you've actually had 6 months. You've had November, December. Let's give it 5. Well, you've had 5 months. You know, next month is 6 months. A true champion is just prepared to take on the challenge. You knew he was your interim champ, and you're calling for Alex Pereira, a light heavyweight who can't fucking wrestle. You fucking pussy. I want to fight Alex Pereira because we're the same weight and the same age. Okay. So you want to fight Pereira because he's the same natural weight as you, then why the fuck are you fighting at heavyweight, you retard? Oh, I want to fight Pereira because we're the same age. You fought DC, who was 36 when you were 28. But now all of a sudden you care about age when it's not in your fucking favour. I don't get it. His logic is skewered. You're a pussy. You can't call Jon Jones a pussy. He's a fucking champ. I'm not saying he's not talented. Do you remember when Chael Sonnen stepped in on a week's notice to fight Jon Jones when the challenger originally pulled out? And Jon Jones was like, no, I'm not fighting him then. And they had to cancel the whole event. Do you remember when Jon Jones returned after his long layoff to fight Gustafsson for the second time? I remember the week of this fight. I was so excited for it. The return of Jon Jones. Let's see how good he looks at light heavyweight. You know, he's active. He had three fights in a year. He was active that year. He tested positive, and they just moved the whole fucking event to a different city because he tested positive, and the commission only would allow it in a different city. They moved the hotel. They moved everything for Jon Jones. The company loves Jon Jones. And I understand if you have a personal relationship with him, Dana, and you get along with him, you think he's a sound guy. That does not excuse the fact that he's what is this? What is this? You were going to give him Pereira? You think the logic of him fighting Pereira because they're the same age applies? DC cut down to light heavyweight to fight Jones twice. Once when Jones was on steroids, and there was an 8-year difference. But Jones didn't care about them being the same age. You think Jon Jones would care about his opponents being the same age if he was younger than them? No. But it only applies now because he's absolutely terrified of Tom Aspinall and wants 6 months preparation. What he's doing is saying, I want 6 months for the fight to be booked, right? For us to know as fans, this is just so he can spend more time thinking about if he should do it. It's nothing to do with training. He wants 6 months so he can sit, keep training, keep fit, and sit and think about if he actually wants this. It might get to the 4-month mark. They'll book the fight. Then they'll be 2 weeks out, and Jones will pull out with an injury, and he'll say, guys, I just can't keep this strain up on my body anymore. You know, I'm the greatest champion of all time. I was going to fight Aspinall. So that means all of his fans can sit back and say, the fight was fucking booked. Jones got injured. That's all. He was going to win. Scumbags. All your scumbags. So that's it. That's it. It's done. We're never going to see the fight. I don't think we're ever going to see the fight. Jones is never going to fight him, just based on all of this. He wants to fight someone the same age as him, even though his whole career he was the younger man. Didn't have any issue with it. It's only now that he's at a disadvantage he wants to pull out all this fucking... It's morally better you fight Alex Pereira. Fuck off. He wants to fight Alex Pereira because they're the same natural weight. Well, then go back down to light heavyweight, you absolute fat cunt. Jog on, mate. You fucking prick.